Stars Twice, and I'm back again with another video, and today I'll be doing another tier list. It's been a little while since my last one, but I wanted to do one on all the cases in Csgo. The Anubis case is not included in this, but this has like a good majority of all the Csgo cases. So starting off we have the clutch case. It's one of the cheapest cases in Csgo, being around 75 cents right now. It's pretty over unboxed because of the, I guess, like, over amount of the case that exists. It's one of the highest like drop cases of all times. It's only been recently taken out of the drop pool, but it's still really cheap and it's still round in high amounts. The reds, the pinks in this case aren't worth very much because of the over unboxing, but Neo Noir and the Cortex look pretty cool. Better off buying them. The gloves are what really carry this case, which this is one of the only cases in Csgo where you can go to gloves from. So, with the gloves kind of carrying the case a bit, I'll put this case in D tier. Next up, we have the OG weapon case. This is currently the most expensive case in Csgo, and while it has some decent knives, having basically just the classic knives, classic finishes, the real good part about this case is the AK case hardened, which, if you get the right pattern, could be one of the most expensive items in Csgo, but the other skins in this case are worth quite a bit too. Even though this case is $100, if you do get a red or a pink, which the pinks are worth a lot because one's the case hardened, but the hypnotic's also worth a bit because there's only one red in this case. So it has higher trade up chances, which increases the price. So with all of that, I'm gonna have to put this case in S tier. Next up, we have the weapons case 2. Now, the weapons case 2 is a lot different from the OG weapons case, but weapons case 2 is first off a lot less, being only around like $13 to $15, while the weapons case is over $100 at this point. But the main point of this case is definitely the pinks, because there's only one red in here, higher trade up chances. The knives are also okay, but not really the main point of the case. The red though, since all the pinks are used for trade ups. With the first weapons case, the lightning strike was already a really good skin, so that wasn't really a problem. But for this one, it kind of fucks the price of the red, so I'm gonna put it in B tier, just because the pinks are worth so much. Now, the weapons case 3 is mostly the same deal as the weapons case 2, except it's only pistols, and also basically better in every way. It's costs less to buy, and has better price skins. Though it does still have the problem of a cheap red, I would say the better pinks, and all around just like good skins in this case, bump it up to A tier instead of B tier. But that's the last one out of the weapons case series, so let's move on to the next one. We have the CS20 case. This case is also a very cheap case like the clutch case, but the gimmick about this case is that you can only get a classic knife from it. Well, most of the other skins besides the Wildfire, which is worth a decent amount, about every other skin in this case is pretty shit. The pinks are alright, but there aren't really anything special, and everything else is really shit. But the classic knife is a pretty decent knife, and it is worth quite a bit. Plus the low price of the case makes you want to give it C tier. Next up, we have the Danger Zone case, and this case is also really cheap, being around 60 cents, but the skins in this case aren't worth very much due to the case being over opened. Though it does have some pretty nice knife finishes, but you do have a chance of getting a stiletto or a Navaja, making me think I gotta put this in D tier. So we have the Esports 2013 case. This is the red one, not the blue one, and this is the far more expensive of the two. This does have one good skin, a pink, the Apu, but everything else in this case is honestly really shit, and it's $50 too, so even if you do get an Apu, you're not really gonna get that much. This has to be one of the shittiest cases in CSGO, and I'm gonna give it an F tier. Now, we have the blue version, the winter version of the esports 2013 cases. This one is a lot different from the red one, with it only being around $7 or $8, and the pinks in this case being worth quite a lot. The red has a shit price because the pinks are mostly used to trade it up, but if you do get dropped a pink, you do get paid a pretty decent amount, making me want to make this case C tier. Now we have the last of the esports series, the esports 2014 case. This case, while cheaper than the blue one, also has much worse skins, since this case does have 2 reds and not the one like these two. The pinks can't be used for trade-ups, though the only skin in the case that's really worth anything is one of the pinks, which, since there's at least something to get from this case, that makes me want to put it in D tier. Next up, we have the Falchion case. Now, in this case you can only get dropped the Falchion knife, which is honestly a pretty mid knife, but still a knife. The skins in this case are also pretty good, with the reds being pretty decent, pinks being pretty decent. The Aquamarine Revenge looks really sick. But with everything in this case being the way it is, everything being pretty mid, it makes me put it in C tier. Definitely on the same level as these cases, but nothing too special about it. Next up, we have the recoil case, the first actively dropping case on this list. The recoil case is pretty decently priced now. It was around the $3 to $4 mark for a while, but more recently it's gone down to $1. And the skins in here aren't too bad. The pinks aren't that good, but both the reds are, especially the Prince Stream USP. And it also has broken fan gloves, so the golds are worth quite a bit too. Nothing about this case being bad. I'm gonna put it in B tier, just because of how easy it is to get to. Next up, we have the Gamma case. This is a pretty, decently cheap case, but it isn't crazy cheap either. It's about $3 to $4 now. This is the Gamma case 1. The reds are alright, the pinks are alright. What really carries this case is the chance for Gamma Doppler and also an Emerald. The other finishes are good too, but what really carries it is the Dopplers and the Emeralds. The Dopplers alone, I would say carry this case to a B tier. With it being pretty decent, I would say it is a strong B tier. The Gamma case 2 is a lot like the Gamma case 1, except being a cheaper and worse version of it. Though, the knife finishes are still the same, and since these are basically the same, but this one's just worse, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier. Next up, we have the gloves case, and honestly, the only really redeeming thing about this case is that it drops gloves. It has all the classic gloves, that is the gold drop in this case. This is one of the more expensive skins, being around $5, and with this case being $5, and the only really good thing to get out of it is the rarest drops in the game, which are worth a fair bit, but at that point, I'm honestly gonna put it in D tier, just because of the price alone. No, not D tier, definitely C tier. So, we have the Horizon case, which is honestly a pretty mid case. The reds are pretty decent. It has pretty decent, nice finishes. It's basically just the Danger Zone case, but a little bit more expensive because it's dropped to non-prime users. So, I'm gonna put it in D tier with the Danger Zone case. So, we have the Huntsman case. Now, I'm a bit biased to this case because the Huntsman knife is one of my favorite in CSGO, but as the name kinda sounds, this case only drops Huntsman's knives, which honestly isn't a bad knife to get. They're pretty expensive, but so is this case, being at about $10 a case. But the other really good thing about this case is the Vulcan, which, if you get dropped at, is one of the most expensive AK skins in the game. So the other red though isn't worth a lot. So with good golds and a really good red, I'm gonna put this at the top of B tier. Next up, we have the Bravo case. Also, one of the most expensive cases in CSGO. Bravo case is about $60 right now. This case, as long as you get the Fire Serpent, you get a red. Also all the pinks are worth a bunch. So this case is definitely worth opening. I'm gonna put it in the same tier, S tier, as the OG weapons case, but I want to put it below it. Next up, we have the Breakout case. Another one of the most popular cases in CSGO. The Breakout case is pretty expensive right now. I think it's about almost $10 per case. It might be 7 now. But the Breakout case can only drop butterfly knives, which if you get dropped them, they're worth quite a lot because they're butterfly knives, some of the most expensive knives in CSGO. So that carries the case quite a bit because this case is opened a lot, so all the prices are pretty low for the skins. But when you take the knives into the account, I would say they're definitely worth more than the gloves in the gloves case, so I'm going to put this bottom of B tier. Now, next up we have the Operation Hydra case. This is one of the rarest cases in CSGO, being released with Operation Hydra back in 2017. This case goes from anywhere from like $25 to $30 nowadays. The main thing you're going to want from this case if you're trying to unbox it is maybe a gold, but also the Onitaji op. It's a pretty expensive red, and it definitely carries the case. Also, everything about the Hydra case, it drops gloves, not knives, so I'd say that brings its value up a little bit more, since gloves are not dropped in as many cases. But because this case is so expensive, I would say it can't go higher than C tier. So I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. Next up, we have the Operation Phoenix case. Pretty classic case. Has the Op Asimov, AK-47 Redline. Both really good skins, though those kind of carry the case. Also has classic knives, which the case nowadays is priced around maybe like $2.50, which isn't the worst price, but it also isn't too cheap either. But overall it's a pretty solid case with some pretty good skins. So I'm gonna put it in middle of B tier. We have the Operation Vanguard case. Now this case, it's $270 on the market right now, but you don't really have any reason to open up this case. Maybe if you wanted a classic knife, you could try to open these, but there are definitely better, cheaper cases for that. Some of the skins in this case are really good, and there's honestly no reason to buy and open this case. But that being said, it definitely doesn't deserve S tier, but should probably go in E. Another currently dropping case, the Dreams and Nightmares case. This case is currently priced around $1, with it overall being a pretty solid case, skins wise. The AK in the case has a red, definitely carries it, looks pretty awesome, but the best part of this case is definitely the knives. The new finishes on those knives, that are in this case the Butterfly, the Huntsman, the Boeing, the Shadow Daggers. There might be a couple more in there, but they definitely look good. As well as the chance to get an emerald from these, that brings the case up. Probably, I'm gonna say A tier, just because of how cheap it is. We have the Operation Wildfire case. Now, this case is currently priced around $230, and it has some pretty decent skins, though it's mostly carried by the fuel injector, which is around $200 if you get it in factory new. But other than the skins that come in this case, knives are also pretty good. though you could only get Bowie knives, which some people aren't a big fan of, but I personally like. But because the knives are so limited to only Bowie knives, I'm gonna put this case in high C tier. Next up, we have the Prisma 1 case. Now, the skins in this case are pretty shit, besides the Emperor. Most of them are pretty cheap, because this is also one of the cheapest cases in Csgo right now, being at only 60 cents. This case also has really good knife finishes with the Doppler and all the other ones, but the chance to get a ruby or sapphire from in here definitely overshadows the rest of the finishes. So, with it being so cheap the way it is, even though the skins are terrible, besides the Emperor, I'm gonna put it in high B tier. So, we have the Prisma 2 case, which is the last of the Prisma series, but in my opinion, it's honestly just a bit better than the Prisma 1 case. All the skins in it look great, both reds look good, and it has the same amazing finishes from the Prisma 1. Now, it's about 10 cents more expensive, but compared to the price differences between these two and other cases, that doesn't really seem like that much. So, I'm going to put the Prisma 2 case at the bottom of A tier. Next up, we have the Revolver case. Fun fact about this case, I invested in these back when they were 15 cents. But the Revolver case overall is honestly a pretty shit case. The only reason their price went up so high is because you could get classic knives from them, but those really carry the case. All of the skins in it are pretty shit, though a couple of them look nice, but none of them are worth very much. And since the price has gone super high now, I'm going to put this case in D tier with everything else in here. We have another old case, Shadow Daggers case. The skins in this case honestly carry it a lot. The Shadow Daggers are honestly kind of a really shit knife. A bit better than the Nava and Stiletto, but still a pretty shit tier knife. The skins in this case are really good though. Both reds and the pinks look really good. So, with the skins honestly carrying it, I'm going to put it at the bottom of C tier here with the classic knife. Below it though, because the classic knife is definitely better than the Shadow Daggers. So, we have an Operation case. Operation Shattered Web case. This case is pretty average. It has some pretty good pinks and reds. The Containment Breach definitely looks good. This case also has some pretty good knives, with this being the first case to have knives like the not the Shadow Daggers, the Skeleton Knife, Survival Knife, Huntsman Knife, those knives. It also has those in the classic finishes here, so that bumps it up a bit. This case is kind of expensive at $4.20 right now. It's definitely worth unboxing, so put this in low B tier. Now we're moving on to the Spectrum series. Spectrum 1 case. Honestly, the skins in this case are pretty good, with both the reds looking good and the pinks being pretty decent. But one of the really good parts about this case is the knives. This case has the Bowie knife, flip knife, butterfly knife, and a few others, but the butterfly knife definitely carries out of all of those. You could also get a ruby or a sapphire butterfly knife out of these, which is worth a lot. So with that in mind, and a pretty cheap price at around $2, I'm putting this below the Prisma case at A tier. The Spectrum 2 case is basically a cheaper, worse version of the Spectrum 1 case. The pinks are way worse, and the reds are pretty good, but definitely not as good as the Spectrum 1. The Empress definitely carries. The knives in here though are still just as good, and with the knives being just as good as they are, and the cheaper price, I'm going to put this at the top of B tier. Not quite an A tier because the skins are kind of shitty, but still a high tier case. Plastic case, the Winter Offensive case. While this case does have the M4 Asimov and the Op Redline, those cases are kind of carrying this. Outside of those two skins, the pinks are decent, but the other red is worth like $5. The Kraken sold off. The knives in here are also decent. Pretty sure they're classic knives, but overall, this case being almost $8 as it is now, it's kind of overpriced. So even though the skins in it are as good as they are, I'm going to put this at the top of D tier. Next up, we have the Operation Riptide case. This case was just in the recent Operation Riptide. Honestly, the skins in this case aren't too good. The reds are kind of mid, the pinks are pretty shit, everything else is pretty shit. What really carries this case is the knives, which it has all the new finishes on the Butterfly, Bowie, I think the Huntsman too, a few others. But those finishes are definitely high in demand, and especially the Butterfly knife, that would definitely be worth a lot if you could hit a gold. But since this case is kind of expensive at around $4 or $5, and the skins are pretty shit, it's making me want to put it in D tier, above the Winter Offensive case, but definitely down there. Next up, we have another actively dropping case, the Snakebite case. I'm pretty sure this is the cheapest case on Csgo at the moment, going from anywhere from 20 to 30 cents. Now, the skins in this case definitely don't look bad, but because the case is so cheap, that definitely hurts the price. But this case is 20 cents, so I definitely can't rank it too low. Honestly, it's a pretty mid case, all in all. The gloves are worth a bit, but other than that, I think it definitely deserves C tier. Now we have the Operation Broken Fang case. Operation Broken Fang was actually my favorite Csgo operation, but overall, this is honestly one of the cases out of the operations that aged well. I would say it aged a lot more like the Shattered Web case than the Riptide case. With really good looking skins and pretty good gloves. I would say it isn't as good as the Shattered Web, but I would say it is a good B tier. Even though the price point has gone pretty high, these two are around the same price, so I think they're kind of equivalent. We have the Fracture case. This has been the longest dropping case in Csgo right now, with it being around 50 to 60 cents. This skin has some pretty good reds with the Legion of the Anubis and the Prince Stream. The other pinks are kind of mid. The knives though, are definitely pretty good in this case, with having the skeleton knife, monster knife, all in the same finishes as the Broken Web case. So, with it basically just being a cheaper version of it, I want to rank it around the same as definitely lower than it, but still a B tier. Now we have the first of the Gamma cases, the Gamma 1 case. This case is around 270 right now, I think, with most of the skins in this case being kind of shit, but the Mecha Industries and M4 Desolate Space definitely carry the skins in this case. This case is also the first one to have the Gamma finishes, so all the other ones, but what stands out the most is definitely Gamma Doppler, which you could get emeralds, which brings this case up a lot. In my opinion, to a high B tier, even though the skins are pretty bad. I'm gonna say below the Prisma case, because the Prisma case is really cheap. But the Gamma finishes definitely carry this case up here. Now, we have the Gamma 2 case, and in my opinion, the worst of the two Gamma series, with it being slightly more expensive, but just worse in general, with completely shit skins. It does have the Neon Revolution, but that isn't too expensive, and though it looks nice, it can't really save the case. And though this case does have really good finishes, I think the skins bring it down. Now, into the C tier, yeah. But if you do hit a gold on here, it would definitely be worth it, but that definitely applies to the rest of these in here too, except maybe this one and this one. Chroma 3. This is definitely the cheapest out of the Chroma series, but with the same finishes, I would say that this brings it above the Chroma 2 and to the bottom of B tier, even though the skins are also shit. Now, last but not least, we have the Revolution case. This is another actively dropping case in Csgo, and its price is about $1. The skins in this case are surprisingly really good right now, with both reds being worth a lot and looking pretty good, and the pinks are doing pretty great too. What's also interesting about this case is the golds in it are actually the OG gloves that you'd get from the gloves case or the clutch case. But with this, in my opinion, being the best option to open for those types of golds, I'm going to place them, both of them both, at honestly the bottom of A tier, just because of how good the price is and how good all the skins are inside. So that's the end of my tier list, which only a couple in S, which makes sense, and thankfully only a couple down here too. But that's the end of my video, so thank you.